Good afternoon. March 5th, 2025. Now TV Canada here. I am just on YouTube channel. I am your host. I am just Jen. So this is a continuation of my tribute to Gene Hackman. About how long ago I had all of this work done. And if other people weren't so jaded and into themselves and looking for excuses to take as much time and money from the viewers and fans alike as they can to try and optimize their abilities and say, oh, I can get better, I can do better, just hang on it, it'll be worth it, I promise you I won't let you down. But they always do. When it's always somebody else's money and time, they're good at coming up with excuses to be allowed to spend it for themselves and what they're doing, when the whole time all the fans wanted, all the viewers wanted, was somebody else's stuff, was the other guy's work. And in this case, girl, and in this case, my work, which was honoring Gene Hackman and his legacy as Lex Luthor, which can never be beaten. He'll always be the best. And of course, the Faye Dunaway Supergirl, Helen Slater's Supergirl, rather than what is being released now, like that TV show that aired for a couple of seasons. Awful. It's no good to people my age. We are the original generation. We got the original comics. If you can't appeal to us, how can we sit there and suffer through it? Watch it. What are we paying you for? You're too wet behind the ears, too young, too inexperienced. The budgeting, the costumes, the acting. Same thing with James Gunn. No matter what James Gunn has done, James Gunn is not better and isn't getting better. And after all these years of being middle of the road, mediocre film maker and screenplay writer, that's all he is, still just middle of the road. When you're at the movie theater and there's a theater of 10 movies to choose from, you only go to a James Gunn movie if there's nothing better out of the list of movies to see or you haven't already seen. And all that's left is to go to a James Gunn movie, and it happens to be one that might just be good enough, to at least break even on the money you've spent. I've seen very few of his movies because I can't stomach most of it. It's no good. He's not me, and he's never going to be me. And all of this time leaving me aside and leaving me out of the industry when all these people I could have met with were alive. And I have a YouTube channel with years and years of history of the videos of me making efforts to reach people and become friends with them when I really wasn't doing anything wrong. I'm just sitting here being a good person, just being nice to everybody all of the time, and then being treated like that in response, right? To be as bad as you can be to somebody who's being as good as they are, right? All of that is over what? Ego, right? Power, control, money. Like, Hollywood's not worth it. Never in my lifetime as a writer, never in my dreams as a kid did I ever say that I wanted to grow up and move to Hollywood and live in California. I said I wanted to be a professional writer. I said I wanted to be a paid writer. I said I wanted to be a published writer. I said I wanted to do stage and theater. Right? That has nothing to do with moving there and being around the people that are there. So what has happened here is virtually in the death of Gene Hackman, everyone has guaranteed that none of those people there are going to ever be the ones to help proofread and edit, format, or sell, or produce, or star in any of my Supergirl trilogy work, or most of any of the other stuff. I'm literally going to go overseas. Bye! I'm going to get on a boat that I'm driving because I have boat license. And I'm going to take a little crew with me. I'm going to go be friends with movie stars and other people that are important in other places overseas. And I'm going to go look for people over there. And in Canada, we're screaming for film work all over the place. So I will go meet these all over the place people, and I will give them film work. So I had a connecting story around the way Gene died, his wife died. And there's something wrong about us as a people as a whole, family members included, society. If we're too busy to be checking in on the most important people in our lives, the most important members are our elderly, the oldest ones, the ones that have worked the hardest and lived the longest and have the most stories to tell us, pass on to us. To not keep up on what they're doing and how they're doing by staying in touch with them more. My friend Michael, who was paralyzed and put in a chair because he had cancer in his spine, the surgeons went in to get the cancer out and they screwed up, made a mistake, and they paralyzed him. They did something wrong in the surgery. And they put him in a wheelchair. And then he had bed sores and wheelchair sores, and he was fighting infections on and off for 10 years post-recovery. So he was really kind of never recovered. And he was not able to get up to par where he could go back to work, which he was doing like a walking normal person was before he was put in that chair. And people treated him like he was a disease, something to be allergic to, right? To stay away from, like he had always been that way, like it had always been that way. And then he would only get on again, off again, home care. So people would come in and undo some of the work that his apartment would need. So then you've got, smells and maybe ants and things that are roaming around freely more than they should be. Than if the super clean teams were in there and the government was consistent in helping people with the funding that's there for that purpose. Now, when he passed away, it was around the holidays, Christmas. And everybody who knew my friend Michael knew him well enough to know that the one holiday a year that he loved more than anything because of his close friends and his family, at least in his head that's what it was Christmas. He may not have been a rich man, he may not have had a lot, but he had enough to know that there are certain people in his life that matter to him, that mean something to him, that he liked to give something to. And so it was like a regular thing. People would know to expect gifts from him, specifically these people. And that Christmas came and went. And I lived far away from him, and we were never, ever that kind of close. I had to go out of my way to go visit him where he lived in Hamilton. I was coming a long way for that. And I do remember a post on Facebook, like the last one was like around Christmas. He was still alive, and he didn't complain about there being anything wrong, being in pain, or saying that he needed to go back to the hospital. He had been released from hospital. Little did we know that he'd probably been released from hospital so he could die at home, and they didn't want to say that, right? Oh, we can't do any better. We can't make him any more recovered from the infection with that, whatever. They withhold information, right? And they want to clear up the hospital bed, save some money. I remember the post. I had no idea. You couldn't see it coming. I don't get stuff from him on Christmas. So I didn't get the chance to write him back and say, hey, Michael, thank you for this or thank you for that, blah, 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 because he's so limited on what he can do and the people he can do it for. And he was found decomposed. Animals were still alive in the apartment with him. Can imagine how they had to survive. But he was found decomposed months later in that apartment. And nobody had noticed, hey, we didn't get our Christmas gift from Michael sooner. And do like, a knock with the police, knock on the door, do emergency care, check in, bang down the door, that stuff they do sooner so that it wouldn't have to be so bad. So this upsets me about Gene Hackman. So now they have been able to detect that the decomposition of their bodies had been a couple weeks. Gene Hackman is Gene Hackman. Like he's a superstar. He was one of the god of the original 100-year histories of movie making. It doesn't get any better than that. He played the Lex Luthor in the Superman movies with Christopher and did all kinds of phenomenal movies that stood up on their own merits in his career. Why would we forget about Gene Hackman? Why would we forget about him and his wife? Why would we not call him more often and sooner? Right? What is this with these 3 kids that he had? You can't call him on a more regular basis, text message, check in with him to make sure he's all right. Right? It was a maintenance guy in their gated community that had shown concern for them that caused somebody to go in and find them decomposed weeks after they had passed away. So I'm really unnerved about that as how we treat people today that are supposed to be important to us. It's not dignified. There's no reason why you shouldn't be checking in every few days or once a week, making sure that everybody in that household are all looked after. It's inexcusable. So I'm going to keep making these videos. We're going to get back to this. I'm going to talk about the part of Lex Luthor getting out of prison. The next part is actually the cab ride back to his underground lair, because I want to make a point about criminals. That even if criminals are in prison for a really long time, you know, their criminal sanctuary, their life going on outside the gates of prison walls still goes on, right? They still have a harem of people keeping business operating. So they still have property and money in hidden places, gold and bars and other stuff happening, renovations, whatever you want, it's still going on for you while you're behind bars. Because they don't have access. The FBI and all these other people are not good enough to dig through all of that stuff to find all of that stuff when they have you locked up, right? They just have to live with the fact that they have you locked up and that they have their eyes on you. And while you're there, there's not much you can do from that place. And so in this part of the story for Gene Hackman's tribute, he's now returning to his Metropolis underground lair. I think this is video 4 out of the videos I've made. But anyway, it'll say in the subject line when I load this. So Lex Luthor, now settled into his renovated and somewhat bigger underground lair, realizing this imposter woman that is a nuisance, calling herself Superwoman, was not going to go away easily. He resided himself on realizing that he still needed to move forward with his plans, but that he would have to take extra care. Caution would need not to err in the account of what might happen should the woman find out what he's doing before he could set sail to his plans. While he was in prison, stuff around Supergirl happened, right? I didn't read that part. But her Supergirl outfit was removed from her. She was in hospital. And anybody that knows anything about amnesia and stuff knows that Supergirl's had it before. At any rate, he had asked for something to be taken of hers and put somewhere. And then there was this other lady calling herself Superwoman, whether she is or isn't, right? And now he's stuck with that lady calling herself Superwoman, bugging him, and he's just getting out of prison trying to get settled in again. So that's kind of why you're kind of a little bit missing the background information. So Lex Luthor says, Otis, where is that confounded sidekick of mine when I need him? He laughs before going on to say, I must be growing soft in my old age. Did I just call that dimwit my sidekick? Otis appeared from around the corner and spoke up in reply. Why, yes, Mr. Luthor. I think that is what you have indeed said, and I thank you for the compliment. Otis, now smiling with satisfaction for having caught Lex in a moment of weakness. Lex Luthor said, never mind what I said. You know, I have an appointment today with the president of Capital One. To my good fortune, which is in Metropolis. So I'm going to be there on business matters, saving me a trip to Virginia since I'll already be there. And I want my plans to work. I have to act fast. So no time to waste, so I cannot be late. Bringing me to my point. Where is my new lucky suit jacket? I would never dare go to meet this Mr. Snapping his fingers, trying to bring the name to the forefront of his brain. Otis replies, Mr. Fairweather? Oh, Lex, his name, Mr. Fairweather. That's it. Yes, that's it, Mr. Fairweather. He chuckles. What a funny name for a fellow who holds such important financial position in the world today. I just wonder if it will play out to be of benefit to me. You didn't waste any time getting out of prison, eh? Booking appointments to go places and do things. Otis, with how good your people skills are, you are certain to get your way. Which brings me to ask Lex, what exactly are you looking for from the president of Capital One? I mean, your money has been safely stored away in offshore accounts, racking up some good interest. So what could you need the credit for? You have loads of money. Right? So Otis is like, what do you need credit for? Lex, you got lots and lots of cash. And Lex Luthor goes on to say, Otis, honestly, sometimes I wonder just how you managed to get this far along in your life. What would you do without me? Not literally looking for an answer, Otis replies. Otis said, spend most of my life going in and out of prison from committing a lifetime of petty crimes? Lex Luthor, you weren't actually supposed to answer that, you know. But I'm glad to see your brain is as sharp as ever. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, you didn't actually think I was going to go around with a bunch of cash on me at the delicate age and frame I'm at now, did you? I mean, with all the crime going on in the world today and everything, Lex has a hearty laugh, haha, because he's a criminal, so he knows, right? Now, where is my jacket? I don't want to be late. Lex Luthor says, you weren't actually, oh, sorry. Where was I? Right, you don't want to live in this world and not have a backup plan. Otis says, after he asks where's his jacket, I don't want to be late. It's right here. I left it laid out for you this morning when I woke before you. See? Otis pointing as he walks over to the new lounge chair and Lex's wonderful new office. Lex Luthor sighs, slightly embarrassed, and says, oh, as he nods with acknowledgement that Otis indeed had been most prepared this morning. Thanks, Otis. But don't just stand there and get it. Get it and help me get it on. You would think after all these years together, you would have this relationship down to an art. You know, when it helped Lex, you know? I mean, he's not getting any younger, right? I mean, I guess Otis is thinking maybe he can still get himself dressed. Anyways, Otis says, but Mr. Luthor, we spent the last couple of decades behind bars wearing prison clothes. There hasn't been much of a need for me to help you with your suits. That's right. So it's not thinking about any of that. Lex Luthor, a little testy now, not wanting to think of the years wasted. You weren't actually supposed to answer that either, Otis. Some things just don't need answering, even if I say it in the form of a question. Now, in his jacket, he moves Otis out of the way of the view of himself in his full-length mirror. He brushes himself down, does up his buttons, checks his cuffs, and makes sure his handkerchief is perfectly in place. You are free to run along back to whatever it was you were doing, he says to Otis while still looking at himself in the mirror. Otis says, okay, Mr. Luthor, but one question before you go. When should I expect you return? Should I tell the cook to have your favorite dinner prepared for you? Lex Luthor says, not today, Otis. I'm thinking I will grab a bite to eat and have a night out on the town. Something tells me there will be much to celebrate today. Otis says, okay, Mr. Luthor, enjoy your day, stay safe, and you know how to reach me for anything you may need. Lex Luthor, I know that, you ninny. That's what these newfangled little things called cell phones are for. Well, I say, so long as we don't drop them or get them wet, they should make my plans of taking over the world. Ha, much easier to do. I will have to make sure everyone on staff of importance to my plans has one. But for the moment, I'm a trite too busy, so I'm stuck with you. Please have that girl we rescued from the hospital magic blood. Quote unquote Supergirl, right? With the amnesia. He mumbled under his breath, brought here to me. to speak with some more. I must find out more about what is in her head, about this check scam she showed us when I had her brought to the safe confines of my country abode. I'm wondering just how useful she, too, can be to my plans. It seems she is suffering from some form of amnesia, so it is to my benefit, for the moment, that we don't know whether she works for the bad guys or the good guys when she is herself. I'd hate to waste my lucky streak. If it comes to an abrupt end because she woke to remembering who she is and thus no longer so cooperative with me. For the time being, she doesn't know who I am or have any ideas about my reputation, and I would like to keep it that way as long as possible. But I do need more tests run to see if there is a way to confirm whether or not she is indeed related to Superman in some way. The more I know while she is like this, the better for me to prepare for whatever there is that lies ahead should her state of mind suddenly change. I must have all my avenues covered. And Otis says, "No problem, Mr. Luthor. I can most certainly handle this simple task. She will be here for you just as you request. Now go get him, boss." Lex Luthor says, Yes, indeed. Lex fully agreed that it was time for him to make his mark to the world, that he is indeed back in business and stronger and better than ever, that when he is done succeeding at his plans, the world will know he exists, and that he plans to rule with Luthor Corps as long as time will let him. He was without a doubt looking forward to unleashing his secret component to his whole master plan. That will be the day the people will know who to serve from that day forward to time indefinite. On that note, he skipped a beat in his step, realizing he had found his bounce again. Grabbing his walking stick, and left Otis standing in the room with the wind to the back of him, blowing in his direction as the door in which he exited from closed swiftly behind him. End scene. So I'm going to stop there. That'll be for today. And as you can tell by the magnitude of that portion of the story, it had been my intention to put him back on the map, make him bigger, better, bolder, and stronger than ever, so the whole world would know who he is. That he's going to go out with a big bang. Now I have to figure out how to do all that without him. Proofreading and editing and all of this stuff in honor of him, in tribute to him, without him, it's just going to suck. Like, I've been moping around in bed for days, not just because I'm recovering from surgery still and in a lot of pain and need a lot of rest. I've actually started to sleepwalk. So there's lots of stress going on, anxiety issues going on. Like, I've never done this before in my life. So beyond the sleep deprivation from being so much pain and not being able to get comfortable and sleep for long periods, I feel like, a horse, 45-minute naps. Obviously there's lots else going on in there for me. When I wake up wearing my Canucks Autism swim jersey over my pajamas and the bathroom sink is running, or I wake up finding myself cooking scrambled eggs and toast, and I can't eat scrambled eggs and toast, not for many more weeks yet, then it's scary, right? Because now the question is, what is the issue? What is the underlying reasoning behind it for me? So I need to get out of here, out of Vancouver, out of Canada. I need to get on the water. So I've been starting to shop for liveaboard boats, houseboats, whatever, stuff I can do, small renovations on while I'm living on, and ways of being able to live comfortably in that situation. Because I need to keep moving forward in spite of everybody that was still alive. Like Richard Donner was still alive in 2014. I have a video on my YouTube channel, which I have left there the whole time. It's the main video of an envelope that came back to me. And you can see by the size of the envelope that it wasn't an unsolicited submission. And I had to have a whole video conversation about sending a letter is not a crime. It's not against the law. It's not breaking any rules. Making an invitation to another person from another person, hey, let's be pen pals. like, let's just coexist as people. Let's just admit that this person exists and that person exists, and that we write to each other our shared thoughts and feelings and have a good time doing that, and that the letters are fun and healthy and promote good things and have an invitation in there to possibly meet one day, right? I simply sent a letter, and you can tell by the envelope, thick or thin. Like, if you're sending big envelopes like this, you can tell there's a manuscript in there, right? That's a book. But when you're just sending an envelope, well, that's not a submission, right? It's a letter. And the point is, you can't know that it's just a letter or even a little business card. Do I have them here somewhere? Yes, here. That's not a submission either. It's an admission of who I am. It does say Future Productions' name. It does mention the website, my Facebook page, where to email me. It does show pictures of all the scripts. But I'm not crazy enough to spend the money to send these out to people and then not get my manuscripts back. And it goes on it comes out of my wallet, my expenses. I just send the cards introducing myself. And so I left the video there because now he's dead. Richard Donner has passed away without meeting me. And he had one famous quote, one famous comment that he had left for people once. He had said, well, you're the producer, you figure it out. And so I've had to live with that, like that, in my situation as a producer, having to figure it out. And so I have lost Richard Donner, and recently just Phil Donahue, and now Gene Hackman, and Margot Kidder in between, and Christopher was first to go, the farthest back. But that was the only thing I would draw the line on. That there would be like no strings attached to what's happening now. And the flagrant disregard for human life and people wanting to just make money for themselves that are in the newer generation coming up in the system with disregard, no respect for the people that were already here working and living, who had built phenomenal reputations and had wonderful careers before them. Like being haunted by Jack Warner. Oh, you can't outdo me or be better than me. Have more than me. You got to work for me forever. Eat that dirt. Well, when you're all passed away, you know, the haunting's got to stop. So I'm saying, as I make these tribute videos, as I close off on this one, that it's time now, based on all the actors that have passed away and the disrespectful way that Gene Hackman's had to pass away, decomposing in his house in a different room from his wife, and him and his wife decomposed for weeks in their place with their one dog also. We need to change the Hollywood standards and the rules, right? We need to become better people. We need to move forward, moving forward. Henceforth, we need to have future productions. There needs to be a future. If things are not going to get better, then we need to stop what we're doing. It's not going to work if we're just going to keep working the way we've been working it in a system in a way that doesn't care if people die. Or people die sooner than they should, or die in disrespectful, meaningless ways around their wanting to make it in the industry through the prominent way of having the publicity and the prominent companies and the bigwig names. Like, I'm not in Hollywood. I don't need a bigwig name. So let's look at Gene Hackman as a way for us to learn from what we're doing wrong as people, as families to these people, and to each other as co-workers in this industry, and realize that we need to do something to try to avoid any more unwanted, unnecessary, catastrophic, life-ending, life-altering public declarations of this kind of passing away for others forever. Like, it's wrong. I'm gonna go now. I hope this helps. I'll be back doing more Gene Hackman tribute videos. it's just, this is not all right. But I'm going to fight for Future Productions. I'm going to fight to be the best person that I can be, and honor all these people that made me who I am today as the wonderful person that I am. And I'm going to continue to try to be a wonderful person in spite of all the things that I'm going up against around all the not wonderful things that are happening, in the hopes of trying to make other people not be wonderful and do wonderful things. So, you know, I'm going to be like Winnie the Pooh about it, or Tigger too. Welcome to Future Productions. Let's get to work building a future that we can all live with, that we like better than this one. Peace out, Superwoman. Signing off. Now TV Canada. I am just on YouTube channel. futureproductionsonline.com. futureproductions.online @gmail.com. Get in touch with me.